Hello everyone, and welcome back to MUP Halo, the only Halo show that promised you not to come first at Adepticon. And that's a guarantee. We will never come first at Adepticon. I'm Wiki Dave, and with me is my co-host James-005. How are you doing, James?
Good evening. I am exhausted.
You're exhausted. You do sound exhausted a little bit. And this episode, we've actually got a special guest for the first time ever. We've got special guest Forging Flashpoint's own Shae. How are you doing, Shae?
I'm pretty good. What's up, guys? I'm excited to be here. Talk about Halo.
Yeah. You said earlier it's your first ever podcast. Is that right?
It is technically my first ever podcast, so this is going to be an experience, yeah. And to be so lucky to be on this one.
Well, I mean, this will be the best podcast you've ever been on, so we'll be able to hold that mantle for a little while. I don't know about that. Anyway, so yeah, we'll go through the things that Shae does, and just Shae in general, once we actually go past the news. But Shae's going to be with us for the entire episode, so we can gas bag about everything that we want to talk about, really, this episode. So we are recording this quite soon after the last one, but we do have a few news items that we can cover. So, as we always do, we'll have to start with the news intro. I'm going to come up with a better one. I think I've reached a point where I think that's getting a little bit retired. So, but anyway, so the most important news that everyone is obviously holding out for is I have received my Wave 2 items, and they actually arrived a couple of days after the last pod went out. And I noticed also Shae actually did a bit of a short advising that he got his as well. Is that right, Shae?
Absolutely, yeah. The models look insane in person. I didn't think I was going to be as excited until I actually saw them. It's like I got to take a video of it.
Yeah, you got very giddy. It was actually kind of like, it's a bit heartwarming seeing how excited you get, and they are definitely. They are different than what you get with the Wave 1, you could say. I would say the quality is definitely improved, and it just felt, I don't know, it just felt a little bit more polished, if that made sense.
Yep, absolutely.
One also thing I noticed as well, once I actually got the Wave 2, they have removed, obviously, the 343 Studios logo on it, but they haven't actually put Halo Studios on the packaging now. So it's actually got no Halo logo branding on it other than Halo Flashpoint, and it's just got Microsoft, which is, I wonder if they'll go with that direction going forward, or actually they'll slap Halo Studios on it. And I don't know whether that's just packaging kind of thing, or is there some kind of change in relationship there that they're not actually going to Halo Studios anymore, they're going to Microsoft. I don't know, that could be just me over analyzing it, but just one little thing I had kind of actually noticed on the packaging.
Yeah, at the very latest, you'd expect them to bring that logo back when they release their next game.
That's what you would think, but I think with the change of everything that's happening on that side, a lot of people said it was just like a name branding change, but there's also indications that it may be a leadership change or something structurally changed, so it could be something different there, but it'll be interesting to see how they do it going forward.
Yeah.
That does sound like some sort of corporate entity tomfoolery with the changeover from Halo Studio. I mean, I can't. I mean, all of you having managed to notice that, Dave, that was the idea that you would get the new War Games package in your hand, and that's the thing you've taken away from it, is that the branding on the outside is very on brand, Dave. Straight into the detail.
I've got a heart condition, and I don't have a lot to do. I'm stuck at home a lot, so looking at packaging is pretty much my life. And plus, I do the wiki and stuff, so I'm a crazy person. But actually, on that note as well, and this will be more for you non-Mantic followers, in the pre-order box for the weapon, for the scorer tracker, there's actually a Mantic point that you can get under one of the tabs at the top. Now, what Mantic does is that you can actually, if you buy enough of their products and you have enough of those points, you can exchange those points for a model. So they've actually just recently revamped all the Mantic points system. So you can actually go to Mantic's website, go to the menu, and there'll be a Mantic points section. You can go to that and see what you could actually get. Unfortunately, there's no Halo stuff at the moment, but there are Dead Zone, there are Kings of War stuff, and at the end of the day, it's free models if you've got enough. So actually, that's more of a tip for you Shae, and you, James. The fact that you probably don't notice that. I've got like 15, 16 Mantic points that one day I will exchange, but
Interesting. For 16 models, is that how it works?
It's not. You don't get 1 point per model, so you
gotcha.
pretty much just get enough points, and then you can exchange it. And it's apparently it's high res. It's you can see that the models on the website, and think they print them at a very 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 high quality, and they are unique models. They aren't ones that you could just buy. So I think there's a bit of a lore character in Kings of War called Garrick Hammerhand. He's one of the dwarves that have been around since the beginning. They've actually made a unique model for him finally, and this is the only way you can get it. So, but you could also, give it to somebody that is really into Mantic as a gift as well. So I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Very nice. Yeah, pro tip. I'm probably in the minority where I actually really enjoy those unique models, those like con-specific models as well. So you might have different models than your opponent.
Yeah, I like that too. I like just have like ways of making things are a bit unique and stand out instead of very samey. Even though you're using the same rules, the same everything, but you've just got the cosmetic side of it just as what defines you as a player as well. And I think that's so important, especially at the big events. All right. We'll move on to the UKTC, the first event with points. I think James, you'll comment on that one.
Yeah, and so if anybody wants to know why I'm exhausted, I got up at the crack of dawn today, drove to the UKTC. I have played 4 games of competitive Halo today, driven home, and it is now 9:30 at night when I'm recording this. So if I am tired and a little bit more rambling than usual, it is because I've had a very full day of Halo today. The event was fantastic. Everyone had a brilliant time. Mantic put on a good show as always. The event itself went really well. We played the 2 new missions from the rules packet we talked about last time. They went really well. It was really interesting to see everybody's lists and sort of how people are engaging with the points. I had some really brilliant games today, fantastic to see the community in the UK growing and getting together and playing these. And the point system worked really well. Everybody had a really cracking time.
And I think that actually leads into also what they're kind of referring to as Season 0. There was some something publicly said is that this time period in the rules at the moment is referred to as Season 0. I thought it would be maybe Season 1 or Season 2 now that Wave 2 is out, but it looks like Wave 1, Wave 2, that's going to be incorporated in Season 0. And it maybe Season 1 is going to be from the Wave 3 releases. So what's your guys' thoughts on that? I know it's something that was very vague in a comment, but I guess the overall concept of having these kind of season approaches.
Yeah, I definitely encourage it. I think that renewing the game every now and then, using season as like a title to bring out new models, new terrain, just gets people excited all over again. You might play a ton when a season starts. It starts to peter off a little bit, but then you have new excuses to go in there and play some more. We can only kind of like theorize what they mean by this, but if it follows trends of like video games and any other tabletop wargaming, there's always excitement around new seasons.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think any kind of regularity and on the basis seasons will shake the game up. That's often, a fantastic time to kind of go through, revise stuff. If that's new objectives, new bits and pieces. I think it's always good just to keep the game fresh and give people, something to chew on, something to think about, and something new to do with their models. I think that's a fantastic thing. We're already seeing some evolution inside this season. So one of the interesting surprises this morning was we got to play with the new sort of second event kit, which has some new achievements in it. So we got to play they've got rid of the achievement for winning 4 games. That's gone. They've got rid of the capture the flag achievement that was on the old set, and they got 2 new ones. They got one called Off the Rack. So if you pick up, we're just killing an enemy with a weapon, picked up that activation. And they've got another one, Yard Sale, which is if you kill an enemy that's carrying both an item and a pickup weapon for that achievement. And those were in play today, which was really good. I don't know if they had those at Adepticon, Shae.
No, not the new ones, which is actually something refreshing to hear because I don't think I made any of those achievements in my Adepticon tournament, which we could probably talk about a little bit later. Which was one of my biggest struggles was the achievements, but it's good to hear
It
that.
seems like they're common, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that they're trying to mix up as well. So
the achievements, it did feel a bit more kind of achievement focused today. I think once you're playing with points and the ability to start with frag and melee weapons, the achievements felt a lot less random. They're a lot easier to play for because you got the right kit. So I think I think that helped immensely today. I think that really helped kind of balance things out. There's still the odd result. I think that if you look at win-loss draw is a bit different, but than you'd expect. But I think with the points, the system seems to perform probably a bit better than it had done without the point system. So that's good to see. It certainly felt a bit more kind of a bit more balanced in. So that was really good. Yeah.
Would you mind explaining the point system? Just curious if it differed at all.
Yeah, it is different, I think, to the one used at Adepticon National. So the point system for the UK is your placing in the event is total tournament points. You score 10 tournament points for a win, 5 for a draw, 2 for a loss. The game scoring is all normalised to 18 points, so all of your games end when you reach 18 points. That's 6 for a flagging capture the flag. That is 2 for an oddball, 2 for a slayer kill, 4 for a king of the hill capture, and variously 4 and 2 in extraction depending on what you're doing. So they all score to 18, so you get those, and then you get up to 10 achievement points on top of those that you score. So it gives you a score per game of up to about 38. Which I think is different to the way that the Adepticon system ran. I think you just did achievement points plus win-loss draw. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. And yeah, each achievement point was worth 1 point. Same win, loss, and draw points as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, and also, side note, there's 2 new achievements are medals that are in Infinite, off the rack, and yard sales. So that kind of does line up with that. I don't think they're actually achievements, but yeah, they're definitely medals because I got off the rack the other day because I was playing Infinite because I wanted to get the emblems of the fire teams from Halo Flashpoint. So
interesting. I believe
that was. Yeah.
Sorry, I believe that actually one of our community members came up with a lot of these achievements that were used. So
fantastic.
The community is already making waves in the tournament scene.
Well, the good thing about Mantic, and this is something that they definitely should get credit for, they're very good at listening to player feedback and also incorporating player feedback into how the game evolves, and they did it since Kings of War. I mean, that's why they set up the rules committee of people that aren't actually work for Mantic. They're actually just players and just regular Joes, and they have a big influence on how the game evolves. So it makes sense for them to do the same thing with Halo because Kings of War may not be the most popular rank and flank game out there, but there's a reason why the community is very tight and it continues to grow and stay together in a very competitive kind of field. And I think they're doing the same with Halo, which is what they want. You want to keep the voices of the players involved because the minute you lose that, and we've seen it so many times, that's the minute when people just stop playing the game. And it's simple as that, but believe it or not, a lot of companies don't do it right. Cool. All right, so we might as well dive into the last piece of the news, and it's more of a speculation than anything concrete. Now, there was a screenshot dropped about potential Wave 4 items. So the waylandgames.co.uk, this website came from there. I know there's a big thing about Wayland Games, so we're not going to dive into that, and I'm sure James, you could elaborate on that, but we're not going to do that. We already know we're not going to get sponsored by them. I think we bashed them last time. But it did note here pre-orders being available for the 30th of September for the Halo Flashpoint Defiance expansion pack, the Halo Flashpoint Sangheili Mercenaries, Halo Flashpoint Banished Garrison Terrain, and Halo Flashpoint. Now, I can't say the Brute's actual species name. Can you say it, Shae? You're better at this than me.
Yeah, is it Jaharl? No, I can't.
We'll say brutes. That's
Yes.
probably the reason why they're called brutes to begin with.
Yeah.
Halo Flashpoint brutes pack. So it sounds like what's coming in the box set is going to be split up, and we're going to get very similar to how we got with Wave 2, how we got the Spartan edition kind of split up, and it kind of falls into that season kind of way of them looking at. So season 0 was the first year of Halo Flashpoint. Season 1 looks like it's going to be the second year, and in a season you're going to get the initial box set release, which is in this case the Rise of the Banished will be season 1, and then you get another additional wave with in this case Wave 4, which kind of takes stuff that's in that box set and maybe adds a little bit more to it, because the Defiance expansion pack is included in the Rise of the Banished box as well. So we already know the expansion pack's kind of called that, but it's interesting to see that it looks like that we're starting to get a good idea of how they're going to structure things going forward. So we might expect with Wave 5, which they've got about a 5-year plan, so we're assuming Wave 5 is going to be on its way, is going to be a box set as well, and that's the system they're going to have. And sticking to that 3-month drop that they're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just rumored. This is just a pre-order. For all we know, they got it wrong. They just got a heads up, and things are always subject to change, because this is 5 months away, and a lot can happen between then. But I guess throwing it to either James or Shae, what's your feelings on that? Do you think the pattern that we're seeing at the moment is going to be stuck to, or do you see them changing things at all?
I mean, they'll have a production schedule. Stuff will be in production months and months in advance. They're probably, they'll probably be working on things for the beginning of next year at this point, if not a bit. So they'll be at least a year ahead of us with production schedules, what they are. So, I think any adjustment like that is the kind of thing where it's going to take longer to turn up, because they're going to need longer to make those sorts of changes. So they'll have a reasonably locked-in roadmap, will be my view. But yeah.
Yeah. No. So when you first shared these photos, my first reaction is I sent you the throw up emoji because it was so long away to get those separate packages. But I did say that my first initial thought was that the release date, September 30th, it's the last day of the month. It might just be a placeholder. I've worked in retail with video games, and release dates are always December 31st whenever there's not a release date like officially announced. But now I'm thinking that is actually a better window, like a September window, rather than just a end of the quarter placeholder kind of thing. Maybe they're gearing up for September, but they don't know the exact date in September, so it at least narrows down that September window. Definitely not the 30th, but somewhere in between.
Dear listener, this is Chris coming to you from the past. I'm with Walton with Mark.
And I'm in the future.
And we're reminding you to listen to the MUP lore episodes for even more lore.
I mean, historically, Mantic always drops or releases the stuff at the end of the month when they say it's going to come out a particular month. So it kind of fits in line. But again, it's all subject to change. But I think the most important thing is, one, confirmation of the name of the next expansion pack. Even though it was in that screenshot, it's always good to know that wasn't just a filler image. It's actually what's going to be called. And it kind of starts to fill in a lot of these blanks. And I think one thing gamers like and nerds like is consistency. And so we're starting to see some consistency with these releases, and it's good to know what we can expect going forward. And if they do a similar approach that they did with Wave 2, with Wave 4, we're going to see stuff that was released in Wave 3 just broken up into smaller packages. Because I think what we got, Fireteam Hydra, I think it was, that they were released as its own thing. And that was included in the Spartan edition. So I think that's also going to give a little bit of hope for those that don't want to buy that big box, because they don't want more terrain. They just want brutes. They just want the figures. And this is definitely giving them the option, especially newcomers, is really good. And that's why I'm a big believer. Even if the unit is bad, as long as you offer the unit, you're giving everyone the equal playing field, which is why I got so stoked when Master Chief came back on the shop. Because if everyone's on the same page, no one can complain about having something that the others don't. And they did make a point that you had at official tournaments, and I saw this from Clerical / Clive, that you have to be using the official models. You can't use proxies. So I think that's rather important as well.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. And I think that's all the news, unless one of you two have anything that you're... actually, on a side note, because we're talking about them printing advance, I think Ronnie put out a short or a video of him being there at the Rise of the Banished printing of the box covers. So I think it's on either he posted it on, I think it was on Facebook under the Halo Flashpoint Fanatics page, and I think it should be still there. I'll try and find it and post the link down below in the comments, but that's really cool. And seeing how much they're printing off, they definitely have a bit of an expectation now of how much they're looking to sell. So I think things are looking good for the game at the moment. I think we're all in a very healthy position with the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when seeing that video, is that because pre-orders obviously show how well a game's doing and what they should expect for, but also pre-releases do as well. And yeah, that just got me way more excited knowing how many that they're printing off. And they're probably getting ready for Gen Con, because Gen Con is around August time, and those brutes are releasing around July. So they sold through a ton of stuff at Adepticon, so I assume that they're expecting to sell a ton of stuff at Gen Con as well with the brutes.
Yeah, it sounds like a really successful Mantic show. Just in general, Mantic also do license their IP out to a place called Wing Hussar Publishing, and they sold a lot of Kings of War books and the new Warpath book as well. So it sounds like Mantic is definitely on the rise, and I think this is just boosting their profile even more. And yeah, Gen Con is an amazing event. It's the only American event I've actually been to. I actually went there, watched Critical Role live when they first did their show there, and I got Matt Mercer's signature, and I was very proud of myself, but they'll probably never remember me doing that. And it was my first real overseas trip, so I really enjoyed it. But yeah, enough of that. I think that covers everything. So we'll end off with the Sangheili dying.
Never gets old.
There we go. It never gets old, but I want to keep that bit. I mean, maybe the start I'll fix that, but the end bit is always going to be the same. So yeah, there we go with the news. So we're going to jump right into the one event that me and James were going to more listen to than anything else is Adepticon. So I guess Shae, have you been to Adepticon before? What's your experience with Adepticon in the past?
Yeah, no. So actually, this was my first Adepticon, and it was actually only my second tabletop gaming convention next to Gen Con, which is really just like a board gaming and tabletop gaming convention. In a way, Halo Flashpoint has kind of started my tabletop con career and in tournament career, which is really exciting. And I think that's kind of what Mantic is looking for, is to get more new people into the hobby. Though I've been playing war games for a long time, just going to events, I think it's been helping out a lot. I'm sorry, but
what was it? No, sorry. It's basically how you felt, and you hit it right on the head. I mean, from the past, were you interested in other Mantic stuff, or was that Halo has brought you towards Mantic, and now you have you been exploring the other avenues of the Mantic kind of IP? Because that was the ultimate goal, right? Is that they use the Dead Zone system on this Mantic, on the Halo game, and they hope that would actually extend for people to kind of look at their other IPs. I'm just wondering from you, being so creative, as we can see on the YouTube channel, has that worked at all? Or do you get any kind of drawn to the other IPs?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, short answer is definitely. I had never heard of Mantic prior to the Halo Flashpoint announcement. And, I'd been playing, competitor war games for a long time, and I was looking for a skirmish game. There's a lot less time these days, right? Full-time job, a very high-maintenance dog that I love a lot, but I was looking for a more skirmish game that...
It's being an adult.
Yeah, right. But I was looking for a more skirmish game that I could pick up and play, kind of attach myself to with the models. And I actually had gotten into a Song of Ice and Fire Tactics Kickstarter. And I was like, this is the game. This is the one. And I spent I think like $400 on that Kickstarter. And I swear like a month after I spent all that money, the Halo announcement came out. And I just completely shifted and diverted my time and like energy and my thought to this new Halo game that I've been waiting for like such a long time. And it really introduced me to Mantic and looking into obviously Dead Zone. And I think, no matter what, we don't know what's going to happen with Halo in the future. I'd like to think it's going to have a really strong 5-year plan. And I think no matter what, there's going to be some really good players out there for it. But it's comforting knowing that if anything did happen to this game, I do like the system so much, and I like the model so much that Dead Zone is a great alternative, and even something that I'd probably look into in the future as I get more familiar with Halo Flashpoint and I play it more. And just seeing some of the other stuff that they're doing, I tried Worms at Gen Con, absolutely loved it, so I had to get like their collector's edition of it. And it just it really, and it like I don't want to sound like a Mantic fanboy right now, but it has really kind of averted me over onto the Mantic side of things just because of the variety of games that they have and the fun, casual but can be super competitive like mechanics. So Halo Flashpoint does a great job.
Yeah, I kind of put into the whole, what's the phrase of when you're a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing? Is that they've got a really wide spread, and like you could start following one particular game, and it's easy to play, but it's a little bit hard to master. And I think that's definitely a through point for Mantic. And I think how you described it is probably exactly what Mantic hoped for. So it's really good to hear that they hit the nail on the head, because we do know some of the Mantic folk do listen to this. So that's good to know that they have a tick by Shae on that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So James, you went a similar path, right? Like when you came to Halo, was it through Ice and Fire you were following? I can't remember which game it was.
So I played MCP before this. I've been a skirmish gamer now for a long time. Like, I no longer have the echoing many of Shae's thoughts about sort of time and bandwidth, right? Like, the bandwidth available for me to do kind of hobby is I'd much rather spend my time on 4 or 5 models, 10 models aside than sort of several dozen. It makes more sense for me, sort of economically, space-wise, time-wise, and I find skirmish gaming tends to be more tactical. I mean, look, I'll go where there's a good game. I mean, for me, I look for a skirmish game. It has to be tactical, and it has to be a competitive scene, right? So that I can access. So, if Halo disappeared tomorrow, God forbid, if Mantic had another property that sort of was doing a similar thing, I'd certainly take a look at that. But I'd certainly cast my net around for I don't have a particular loyalty to the company over the product, as it were.
Just for the record, I've never played Dead Zone. I'm just saying I'm not really trying to boost it. I don't even know how it plays. I know that was the initial intention, so it's interesting to get that perspective from people from the outside. So we'll dive right into more of the tournament they actually played at Adepticon, because you did play in the tournament there, Shae. I hope you're okay with me mentioning that.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of a surprise thing. So.
Cool. So I guess run us through what you used and what I mean. Obviously, this is probably one of the biggest Halo tournaments you've been in so far. What's your impressions of how it was run, how it kind of worked, and ultimately how the scores rolled out? Because that has been a bit of a talking point for me and James, trying to work out whether we actually like the system or not.
Yeah, definitely. So the U.S. Nationals tournament was a very interesting tournament for me because I initially signed up for 2 other tournaments, the One Weapon Challenge and the Team Tournament. And as I was going, I posted a video on my whole Adepticon experience. I had a buddy that I played a tournament with prior, and he was like, Shae, you have to, like, you cannot miss U.S. Nationals. you have to go to U.S. Nationals. And I'm like, I didn't really plan for it. I'm coming in late Friday. He was like, just do whatever you can. It's the first Halo U.S. Nationals tournament. You got to be in it. So I worked it out. I paid a little bit extra for my dog sitter just to get up there early. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to get down there. And I walked up and I was like, I'm not registered or anything. I got registered and I just hopped right in. Never practiced my list at all. Didn't look at any of the game types that we were playing, even though I had played them before. Just kind of like went in there and wung it, and I couldn't have been more happier. The terrain layouts was very dense. Just that was the first thing that I noticed walking in. Seeing all the terrain on there was very intimidating. You could tell that they were trying to inhibit the meta of the double Deadeye by introducing a ton more terrain, which I was all for because I didn't take any Deadeye. But it was I think we had about 22 participants. And it was just incredible seeing some of the people there, some of the people from the community. My opponents were just the best opponents I think I could have ever asked for. I think no matter what, no matter how many times that you play a war game, and this being only my second Halo Flashpoint tournament, you're gonna go in there and think that you know everything about the game, and then you run into all these different scenarios and have to get judges involved, which were very very understanding and having to pull out that rule book. But yeah, I think we did 4 rounds, 90 minutes each. The first game was CTF, second was Oddball, then Strongholds, and then Slayer. How in depth do you want me to go in this? Because I could feel like I could talk about it forever.
Go as in depth as you want, because to be honest, that's what the game is. I mean, if we don't talk about all the little nerdy things about the game, I mean, we're not gonna really dissect it. So yeah, go nuts. I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to hear my game by game and what happened? Because
just do a quick summary, and we can break it down later if we needed to.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically game one, front thing, so I noticed a lot of the fire teams, they weren't hyper competitive fire teams. I did see a couple double Deadeyes, but a lot of what I saw were kind of the box, the Spartan box and the Recon box teams. There were definitely a few very competitive teams with doubling up on some of the stronger units. But yeah, so my first game was CTF, and so my list was, I had Chief, I had the Zvezda with the Commando, and I had the Brawler with the Bulldog, just for some knockback. And once Chief gets the right command eye, he just kind of owns the objective game, and I was able to score basically 2 flags right off the bat. One with one with Chief, and then the other one with the Brawler that was basically just sitting on that flag, ready to capture it again. My second game was Oddball, and this is the first game that I noticed that I have not. I've played as the Sangheili, but I've never played against the Sangheili. All the matches that I've ever played have just been against Spartans, and I would forget so many times about evade, and it just really enforces how important it is to have those practice matches before a tournament with as many different factions as you can. I ultimately ended up losing that game because of just mistakes that I had with being unfamiliar with playing against the Sangheili, and the knockback and scatter that unfortunately the plasma grenades do to you when you're holding the Oddball. The third game I played was Strongholds, and this is kind of a prime example why this game I think is for everyone, why just war games should be for everyone. I lost this game, but it was definitely my favorite game out of the whole tournament because it was so close. It was Spartans on Spartans, and it was Strongholds, and where Master Chief usually has a terrible time with Strongholds, having one less Spartan than the other team. There's still ways to pull through, and knowing that you could have, in my game, knowing that I could have won and just barely losing, it makes it, in my opinion, more fun than all the other games that I played. Plus, my opponent was very understanding on a lot of this stuff because we did go through a little bit of getting the judges involved with some of the rules. Then my last game was Slayer, and it kind of what the community is saying about Slayer with Sangheili is it's very difficult to win Slayer games with Sangheili, which some would probably argue because the top three factions were Sangheili in this Adepticon tournament. But with Chief and his command dies and being able to just melee multiple times and shoot multiple times, kind of gave me the win there on that match. I really loved the people I played against. I really loved the scoring system. I think there was literally the only thing I can nitpick on is that the communication around the scoring system. I think a lot of people were confused when writing down their scores because the system that they use, they just tracked whether you won or lost and basically like your achievements. And I think a lot of people were adding the totals of winning versus losing to the total points that they got each game. When really they didn't need to because they're just putting in the computer whether you won or lost, and the scoring system would automatically track it. But otherwise, yeah, the Mantic team was just incredible, very informative and very supportive, and there was always someone around in case you had a question or needed a judge to talk to.
So I guess the question is, did you want to reveal your place on the podcast?
Yeah, that's totally fine. And honestly, thank you for looking at it, because when I first opened it up, I was at a rest stop driving home from Adepticon, and I saw my name in 17th place, and I was like, well, that was very interesting. I went 2-2 overall, so 2 wins and 2 losses. But after you actually calculated everything, I ended up going 12th. That's correct?
Yeah.
So
I think it was 12th, 13th, something like that. So you definitely did a lot better if you just looked at the win, draw, loss points specifically. The good thing is that the first four places don't change. So that's the good thing you want. So it means that the best did win, and which is why I said the joke at the top of the podcast that the boys from the Truth and Reconciliation podcast, they seem to own the tournament with all banished teams. So it would be all Sangheili teams, our first, second, and third, which is going into what James had been saying over the past few weeks of Sangheili being with those grenades being a little bit. I don't know if OP is the word, but they definitely are being a little bit dominant on the field at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a very good tactic. I mean, that's how you play Sangheili, is you use those grenades.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I would also, like to just mention, all the opponents, it was awesome talking to a lot of those guys. I consider a lot of them, we bonded over this tournament when we went to Mantic Day, which was like a couple nights after that. And this is why I encourage anyone, if you're thinking or like on the fence about going to any of these events or like going to these tournaments, I think one of you guys said it on the last podcast, is like one of the most important things you can do is show up, show Mantic that this game is played and people want to play it, and you will I swear you'll like form the most solid of bonds by playing some of these guys and talking to them, because there's a lot of chatter in between. And going to Mantic and then actually seeing Mantic Night and actually seeing all my opponents at Mantic Night, which it just felt like friends at that point, was an incredible experience. And it wasn't even like playing the game that actually was my favorite part of that trip. It was just the people I talked to and just walking to the room and like knowing everybody and them knowing me and just being like-minded and just talking about Halo and playing Halo.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, that's what keeps a community coming back. And a lot of the time when you go through those, what I call the dark times of any game, where there's no releases or there's a bad release and people are really down on it, it's those connections and that community that's grown from it that get you through it. I mean, we see it with all fandoms. I mean, I'm not just talking about gaming, I'm talking, Marvel's a good example of, it goes for a bit bad period, and there's some people that still, have a community there of people that love Marvel and still talk about Marvel. And you could look at so many different games. And Warheim is a good example if we talk about something more similar to Flashpoint. Is that game died for many, many years, and it was the community that kept it alive and kept people to keep on playing it. And I think this game has established itself as a good game. I don't think anyone can dispute it's bad at all. Maybe not be for them, but it doesn't necessarily make it a bad game. And it feels like it's going to be a game that is, if it stops releasing today, it's still going to have a player base. And the package that you get with the game is something you can bring out whenever and hopefully back up and play. So we only can go up, and that's what's really, really exciting. So it's good to know that resonates, especially with the USA community, because at the end of the day, there's a big ocean in between the UK and the USA, and you know, people's experiences are going to be different. And it sounds like there's a bit of a 3.0 as the community seems to be very supportive of each other, which is really good to see.
I'm Scott, aka Palette of War. Welcome to Mantic Universe podcast, and check out my YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, and you never know what you're gonna see at a tournament. You never know who you're gonna talk to and what information you're gonna find. There was a gentleman named Brad that I ran into. I'm pretty sure his name was Brad. I'm terrible with names. Who him and one of my opponents named Kyle basically created a rules for like vehicles. And I think I'm going to explore this in one of my videos if like vehicles are appropriate for Halo Flashpoint. And they actually broke down everything, and they're pitching the idea to Mantic. And at first, where like vehicles, I would never imagine vehicles would ever work in Halo Flashpoint. I wouldn't even want them. After hearing some of the rules that the community has made up and just how dedicated they are with coming up with all sorts of these things, it has kind of changed my mind on it, and I think that would be really exciting. But just seeing how much time and effort even you guys and other community members like put into this, that's exactly what you want to see in a game like this.
On the vehicle note, though, I think the major problem that they're going to have, and you've shown with Brutes that they're going to stick to it, is cannon. They're sticking to cannon sizes of units, of species, and so forth. And
Right.
those vehicles are quite big. So it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, that would be something that you would have to get over. But if we know Mantic and we know Dead Zone and Firefight, there might be something like that on the horizon. Which
I do think Firefight is a good adaptation, but I think what makes them nervous is the last Halo game, tabletop game, was more of a fighter fight, and it sunk. So I think they're going to be a little bit more reserved how they do it. I think having a successful Halo game already that is still ticking along and going well will make that risk a little bit negated, that they can take that leap to go to the fire. So basically, Firefight, the main difference is you don't really run on a grid when it comes to Firefight. Firefight's more 40k, the 40k kind of field, so you can just hopefully still use the same models on that Firefight table, but you'll be able to add more like vehicles and so forth. And I think that's pretty much the only way they'll really make it work. I think the board is a little bit too small for vehicles. I understand people trying the vehicles out in that, but I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad to be proven wrong, and I guess you had the same thought until you actually saw the workings on paper. So yeah, it might be interesting to explore. James, what do you feel about vehicles?
I mean, a lot of my Halo multiplayer experience is big team battle, right? And I loved, I loved, vehicles. I loved, thrashing around Ragnarok, driving a Warthog. These are things I'd love to see come to the game. I'm not convinced in its current form this would work. I think it would need to be another game, or it would need to be a different version of the game. Who knows? Mantic are clever people. Maybe at some point, that's a thing. Maybe we move to a different size grid that would enable that, or something else. But I think, for kit bashing at home, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people to, to have a go and see what they want to do. I don't know. I don't have many more coherent thoughts than that this evening, but that would be my take.
Yeah, I mean, Halo, it lends itself to kind of going off the rails a little bit. And like tournament legal, vehicles may not be tournament legal, but if something blows up in the community enough, they would probably take a second look at it if it could work. And I'll have to go back and like listen to the recording again of Brad kind of like explaining it to me, but it got me hooked. Like I definitely want to try it.
Oh, interesting. Be it, and again, it's another evolution that we're going to keep an eye out for, and I really hope it does go in the direction. I would love a Scorpion tank. It'd be amazing to have a Scorpion tank, just putting that on the field. But also looking at a lot of the Halo War stuff and other stuff in canon that we don't really get to see in the main games because it doesn't work in gameplay. There's a lot of lore stuff that can be used on the table a lot more effectively than shoving it in the game. So, yeah. So I guess any final thoughts on the Adepticon experience? What is there anything? I mean, looking through the Mantic booth, what was obviously you saw those brute models in person. Are they what you expected? They were. I was surprised at the size. I think the fact that they really stuck to that cannon size, which they were about like 2 feet higher than I think Master Chief. I was surprised, but I'm also stoked that they're keeping to that cannon roots.
No, absolutely, yeah, and they're bulky. They're big and bulky. They look incredible. Yeah, the painter, whoever painted them, just did a stellar job with the new terrain that's coming in the bundle too. It looked incredible. They definitely, they have more plastic, and sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
That's all right.
Yeah,
they seem bigger. I mean, the fact that they're all coming in that pack, it kind of explains a little bit how it does feel like there's a little bit less in the next box set. But I think it's just because the models are bigger, and you don't really get that from just looking at a photo. Oh, sorry, a picture. I'm trying to sell it.
Yeah.
I think that was the big surprise for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the whole Mantic booth was kind of incredible. They had people dressed up as Spartans. They had demo games going on. Of course, they had the brutes out, and I talked to one of the guys that was selling a lot of the models, and they completely sold out of war games like the second day, like halfway through the second day, and after like 10 minutes of this guy starting his shift, like 8 people had already asked him about it. So like the demand for it is pretty incredible, and it's really good because even an event like that, they can sell hundreds and hundreds of copies, and that's just like hundreds of more people that are getting into the hobby and into the game. And even their Fireteam Phoenix, that they're like 3D printed like alternate recon model positions. They had sold out the first day, and they were actively like packaging new ones every single day. So I would say almost every single day they were probably selling out. And every time I went to a tournament, I saw more people packing, like putting them in packages. So as far as the health of the game right now, yeah, I'm definitely not worried about it. I think there was probably hundreds of new people, probably maybe even thousands, that were introduced to this game just from that weekend alone. And I think that having the brutes on display was a good call. And showing those new models off, even though they were probably prototypes and maybe not finalized, but I would expect them to be pretty close to finalized. I wouldn't expect them to change all that much. Is going to get people excited because even my time just sitting there looking at the brutes, people kept on walking by and just saying, "Oh, the brutes," or it's like, "Oh, they have brutes now," and just walking around and seeing people holding bags with Mantic and Halo Flashpoint on the bag is pretty cool. My only worry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So my only concern, and like I said, that these are they're probably still prototypes, is looking at the Atriox model. You might have seen it in my video. He seemed a little bit slimmer than the other brute. Like he seemed almost the same size as the other brutes, and maybe I would expect Atriox to be a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker when it comes to his armor. But he definitely seemed a little bit leaner than I was expecting compared to the other brutes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
it could be a prototype. Yeah, it could, because they would have painted these ages ago.
Yeah, I almost guarantee that it's a prototype, and they're fooling around with sizing and stuff like that. But that would probably be my only change, and maybe, like I said, it's just a nitpick. But I would just increase that size slightly, make them as big as you can without being ridiculous.
Yeah, and to dive onto your thought of people coming by and saying, well, they're brutes now, I think that is also, that achieves two things. One, it shows that the company is looking forward and the game is looking forward. So it encourages people to invest in the game a lot sooner than waiting. And because I know a lot of people tend to, when there's big releases, especially if it's associated with an IP based off a video game, sometimes it's a flash in the pan kind of game and it kind of vanishes. And Halo, unfortunately, has a historic trend with tabletop of not surviving. I mean, they set up a company, I think it was Spartan Games or something, specifically for the Halo game, and it just didn't work. And so I think that there'll be a lot of people from the outside thinking it may be a flash in the pan, and then now showing the proof of like, no, it works. People like the game. It's so popular that even just a Wave 2 little release is getting this much wave. Plus, here's what's coming up. I think is also going to get more people involved because they're going to go, this isn't just going to be a once-off purchase. I am going to be in this game for at least the next 6-year time frame and even perhaps more. So I think that's also helping build that community up and bring more people in.
Yeah, and viewing the other booths that have like licensed products like Cyberpunk and Borderlands and things like that, nowhere close to how many people that were at the Mantic booth. There's tons of people at the Mantic booth that I saw.
Yeah, game over IP. If you make a good game, people will come. I'll throw it to you, James, because I know we've been a little bit cutting you off a little bit there.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, just Spartan Games is a weird, it's a weird artifact of history. Spartan Games actually wasn't started. It happened to be called Spartan Games when it got the Halo license, rather than the other way around.
Oh, that's my bad.
But they and I never played the Halo games they brought out. I did play some of their other games, and they wouldn't have been, they certainly couldn't maintain my interest in terms of the depth of their game design. Maybe is probably the way I will phrase this. So I'd sort of be. It's not a massive surprise to me that they didn't catch on. How's that? How's about that? I'll say I think we're in much safer hands here with Mantic.
Yeah, and I think they're proving it as well. And yeah, that's. I mean, we will dissect more of probably the results of the Adepticon, and I know we've got something in the works to actually bring on perhaps the winner of that particular tournament to actually talk about it a little bit more. But it's good to have that perspective from you, Shae, and it's definitely going to be an interesting development of seeing how these tournaments evolve. I know they try and incorporate as much of how the games are played into game types and how tournaments are run, and we see that with achievements. So it'll be interesting to see, as these maps evolve, are we going to, I know they played a little bit 2 versus 2. Is that going to be more of a tournament format going forward? There's so many avenues they can go with it, especially if the game continues to be strong. Because if the demand is there, they're going to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we hate corporations and all that stuff, if it's making money, they're going to do it. And it's the same with independent producers like Mantic, is that if it's going to make money, they're most likely going to do more of it. So it's good to see in the long runs in terms of the hobby itself. Cool. I kind of wrapped that up a little bit nicely. So we're actually going to put the spotlight on Shae now, as much as you may hate it. So we're actually going to deep dive into Shae. And so as I said at the top of the show, he does a YouTube channel called Forging Flashpoint, which is obviously taking the Forge aspect from what you can do in the Halo games of building your own maps and Flashpoint, and then obviously merging them together. And yeah, it's probably... You got that name in quickly, and that's probably a really good move on that one. So, Shae, I guess, what's your history with Halo? I mean, you obviously are a fan of Halo. I've seen a lot of your videos, and you definitely have deep dived. I think you got the same. I think you got the Halo 3 helmet, the same one I've got, the legendary one. I can't remember if I saw that in a video or not, but it rings a bell for some reason. But I guess, yeah, overall, what's your history with Halo?
Yeah, so my history with Halo, obviously, it goes way back. I'm about 33 now, and when I was a kid, my brother, love that guy, another James, by the way, he would always get things, before me, right? So he got a job before me. He was able to buy an Xbox before me, and he was able to buy Halo before me. And me being probably like 12 or something back then, just playing like Nintendo games, he started playing Halo with his friends, and he always tries to get me into whatever he's into, which I so appreciate him for, which has actually helped my Halo Flashpoint career as well. But he wanted me to get into Halo, so we would play Halo together, and ultimately I ended up playing it way more than he did. I played it so much that he kind of just gave up trying to play it, and I would just be in my basement the whole time playing Halo 2 on the original Xbox. So I didn't start with Halo 1, but Halo 2 on the original Xbox, and he stopped paying for Xbox Live, so I took it over, and I took his gamer tag, which is Jababidi Badido, which is kind of hilarious. So, which is the same name that I use to register for like all the tournaments and stuff that I have locally. And I just played the crap out of it. I mean, it was such a revolutionary game with the multiplayer system. Got me to go back and play the original Halo. My friends were also into it, so we just played Halo multiplayer like crazy. It's one of the I have some friends that I would consider I have friends for life, and it's because of that game. That's how we bond. That's how we still bond. So we still play like Halo Infinite together. And I just kept on buying the games and just being obsessed with that universe, trying to dabble a little bit into the books. And lo and behold, my brother eventually got into tabletop wargaming when I was about 19. He was in his 20s, and also he wanted an opponent, right? So the easiest way is to just get your little brother to play against you. And at this point, it was 40K, and I bought the models like reluctantly. I was actually kind of not happy about it. I was like, fine, Jimmy, like we'll do this. And then I kind of I got into it, but it was actually not until I was like, it was on and off for a long time. But it was not until I got into D&D, which with my lifelong friends like 6 or 7 years ago, and I started customizing like miniatures, and I wanted to paint them, and I started painting those. And I was looking at my old like 40K models, and I'm like, I need to repaint these because they look awful. So then I started repainting those. Got really back into that game, but just with time and just like the mental exhaustion that some of these large war games, take from you. I just needed an alternative. So I even I remember like going on eBay and looking up Halo ground command stuff, because I'm like, you know what, even if I don't have anyone to play against, I still want to like pick up and like paint these models. And then eventually, but I didn't because they're so expensive now. But then eventually, Halo Flashpoint got announced, and honestly, I haven't looked back since. I kind of ignore pretty much any other war game I can. I play Halo Flashpoint more than I play Halo the video game now, and that's just been so integral in my video gaming life that it's kind of surprising that I'm in my tabletop wargaming era, and thank God it's Halo.
I think.
Have you put that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's just remarkable how similar those stories are when you talk to players. When you talk to Flashpoint players, how many people have such similar experiences of the computer game, and how that's bringing them into Flashpoint. It's really interesting.
Yeah, no,
I was going to say, Shae, have you got the emblems for the fire teams?
The emblems? How do you mean?
Yeah, so in Infinite, you can actually get the emblems of the fire teams that are in Flashpoint.
Gotcha. No, I do not. I just purchase whichever ones I like. I might have them.
You're one of those people.
No, I definitely I feed the corporate the
machine,
the corporate monster. Yeah, right. Microsoft. But
all right.
But
yeah, no. You can blame all the monetization on Shae.
Exactly. Also, a fun fact. So like my Halo, like I was so in ground with Halo, like growing up, me and my friends started like a machinima, like Red vs. Blue, that actually started to take off, but we just never like continued it. And there's a video out there. Are you guys familiar with Flippy the grunt? Flippy?
I think so. I think vaguely. Yeah,
it was like my first viral YouTube video. There's this grunt in Halo 3 when you have the "I would have been your daddy" skull on, and oh no, yeah. So he screams like, "You killed Flip Yap." Flip Yap and I went to Nipple Academy together, and it was just one of the funniest grunt lines I've ever heard. I screen captured it, I uploaded it to YouTube, and it was like I think one of the first like Halo 3 campaign viral videos. I don't know, but that kind of alone, it's also started kind of my YouTube career. That kind of blew up with like hundreds of thousands of views, and it's like interesting. There's something here.
Yeah, I mean it's quite interesting. So how? Yeah, I guess that leads into the next question. How
Sure.
did the YouTube stuff come along? Was it something that you just thought, oh, this is cool, I just want to record it, or is it more of a case of, oh, I want to actually show people how all these or how to build terrain for the game?
Yeah, so actually a couple things factored into that. One, I had been editing videos for so long as a kid. I went to school for it for like a little bit and decided a different career path, but I enjoyed like experiencing it and then taking what I experienced and like trimming it down and like having other people experience it as well, or like letting them in on something that they haven't seen before or would like to see. So I had been editing videos for so long, personally video game related, and when this game was announced, I knew it was because it was a skirmish game. It probably wouldn't get as much traction as some of the larger war games, and I looked at games like Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, when the video game, when it released, it did well, but kind of like tanked after first release. It wasn't until streamers, and this isn't like not like a new thing, but it wasn't until streamers like picked it up and they started doing things like tucking, which is like hiding on the pirate ships and like trolling people, that it gained traction, and then it ended up being Microsoft's like most successful game of that generation, even more than Halo. So, and it was because of streamers, it was because of content creators that it happened. So when I was looking at this game, I'm like, how can I be a part of this community for one thing, a community that's like just starting, with something that I love, and I had just finished like a little mini diorama for like an ex-partner, and I was like obsessed with like creating these little scenes with miniatures, and I was like, I've got to like implement it some way into this, and I got to be part of this community. I have to encourage players to play it as well, and what better way than kind of recreating some of these classic maps or like new maps in the Halo universe. And I think that's why I don't know like if they brought out a larger scale version of Halo Flashpoint, I think I would definitely play it, but I think my heart would always be into the smaller scale Flashpoint game, because you can create those small maps. It's not like a whole battlefield. It's what everyone remembers. It's the nostalgia that everyone has in the video game, and to be able to go to a game store with like a high ground map or like a hang 'em high map or turf or lockout, and someone sees that and they're like, blows their mind that they can play on that tabletop and like have a really good time with all those models. So it was a lot of combination of other things, but it's also to get people to play the game, and it's also to get more YouTubers creating content. I don't want anyone to look at like my content and be like, oh, he's already doing that, I can't do that. I want someone to look at my content and is like, I could do that better. Maybe I can compete with him, and then maybe one day we can do like a collab, like where we do a competition of who makes the best map. You know what I mean? So like, it's not only to get new players in, but it's also to get more community members creating content. So kind of like, hey, I did it, now you guys can do it too, and keep doing it.
So basically, you want the community to rise together rather than your community rise, and that's the best way to always look at these games. You want the community as a whole to go up. You don't want one particular content creator who does Halo being the popular one, because it means everyone will go to them, only get one perspective, and the net's not that wide. But if everybody is wanting to make the best content and interacting with each other like we're doing right now is showing that it's a very welcoming, anyone can come along and be part of the community to whatever degree they want. It means that the overall community of the game is good and healthy, and it's definitely your approach is exactly what we believe as well, is rise together instead of individually. So
yeah, exactly. Like we might not be able to do it all, right? So I might not be able to get
exactly.
all the news. So if I can like put in the description or in the comments someone who's doing the news a little bit better than me for that given week, then I'm going to do that. Like I want you guys in the community to be able to get their news, whether it's from me or not. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
yeah, whatever I can do to help.
Exactly. And yeah, but people are just talking about the game is the most important thing at the end of it. So a lot of these questions are actually coming from someone in our Discord, Ash Rose 117. He's very knowledgeable in the game. So if anyone out there does want to pose a question to any guest that we have, or even to us, just pop into our Discord, and we do have a MUP Halo section where we can just talk about even just the game. It doesn't have to be a question. So we've covered a lot of the things because he kind of stole a lot of questions that I had as well. But he did say, elites or Spartans, and why? So you choose between elites or Spartans, and why? And what's your favorite unit at the moment?
Interesting. Yeah, this is a tough one. So I actually recently mentioned in the Discord that one of the great things about this game right now is kind of every both factions, every unit is kind of my favorite. And it's a good and a bad thing because I don't have like one favorite. And I'm really hoping that the Brutes are going to be that favorite. I hope that their playstyle mixed with the Banished and Elites is going to kind of like be my favorite, my go-to. Currently, I love the Spartans. I think I find myself attracted a little bit more to the Spartans based on like the customization. I guess the most relation to them, which is very strange because normally I play the bad guys, and you can bet when there's more bad guys to this game, particularly some green, gross, infected ones, I'm going to probably play those as well if they come to the game. But yeah, if you had to ask me right now, I'd definitely say Spartans. That's what I played the most. That's what I'm seeming to enjoy the most. I am not super competitive by nature, as you can tell by the 12th place in the Adepticon tournament.
I like you go for the rank instead of the actual rank.
Yeah, we're just going to say that.
Yeah, right.
Instead of the 17th place. But
exactly.
So because of that, I go for whatever, right, the rule of cool. So I pick the models that I like the best. The Svezdas are known to be the worst Spartan in the game at the moment, especially the Cindershot one. And it's unfortunate because that is my favorite model of the original sets, the Spartan and Recon Edition. So I've tried to play those in like many other games, and I got them to work a little bit, but I would say that's definitely my favorite unit. The Gulner, am I saying that right? I know one of you guys said it correctly.
I think James probably did.
Yeah,
So
the Wave 2 stuff.
I'm going to die on the hill that it's Gungnir, but
Gungnir. That's what. Yep. No,
Gungnir.
That sounds right.
That sounds right. It sounds right. So James, you won it.
So another thing that I think this game does beautifully is the Gungnir model. I hated that armor in the games. I'm not a huge fan of visor. Like I'd rather have more visor, right? The Svezda in my video games. But seeing that model in this game in Halo Flashpoint has completely flipped 180 on that armor. I'm obsessed with that armor now. And it's fun because it's going to be one of the strongest, I think, of Wave 2. But the Gungnir's armor I think is incredible, mixed with the paint job that they kind of advertise with it. But also the JFO. I think it's going to be the same Svezda approach, where I think the JFO has always been one of my favorite armors. So I'm going to probably play that the most, even though he might not be the best.
I think
so.
Those two
Once
are
again,
the standouts for the record. I think those two armors are the standouts for where we are right now. So you'll have no problem with those. I think they're both excellent armors. Beautiful. Yeah, I can keep going and say stuff about all the Spartans, but I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, I think that's the annoying things about liking a game. You kind of like everything, and I'll kind of put you on the spot. Or Ash put you on the spot by asking one thing in particular. Actually, I'll throw it to you, James. What's your favorite unit at the moment?
I mean, that's very difficult because that does change. I mean, I have my heart says the Mark 7 still. The Mark 7 is still, just an awesome, awesome model and has one of the best sculpts. So I kind of want to say that. That being said, there is a particularly naughty trick with the JFO at the moment in Flag. I think about 3 people were running this at the tournament. So because the JFO can scout, you can also do it with Zvezda. It's just more efficient with the JFO. You can scout, and if you've taken either a grapple or a thruster pack with them, you can scout, use an order dice or your grapple to advance another cube, drop a quantum translocator, sprint to the cube next to the enemy's flag, use then either a move orders dice or a grapple, whichever one you didn't use before, to drop onto the flag and then quantum translocate back. And that can let you kind of activation 1, get the enemy's flag to within 1 or 2 cubes of scoring, which then makes it reasonably trivial to score the flag in the second activation of round 1. I probably have to say the JFO at the moment, but that's that's certainly a nice little combo if you're currently playing. You currently got a game of Capture the Flag coming up. Give that a whirl. Your opponent will not appreciate it.
Yeah, it's interesting that
enjoys the meta.
That you mentioned the Capture the Flag with that because of how difficult it is to score in that game and actually complete a game with 3 flags. It's almost like Mantic knew that wasn't going to be a problem in the future.
Yeah, it gets a bit quicker when you can drop the flag, but Capture the Flag is currently probably my least favourite of the group. It tends to spin a little bit on who's brought kind of weird tech, and it's very binary because there's in organised play there's 6 points of flag. The difference between getting 1, 2, and 3 flags is so gigantic. But anyway.
It's interesting seeing the meta kind of evolve, and I think we're in this weird spot at the moment where Wave 2's just come out. Not everyone has it. Most people are still getting it, but also a lot of people haven't played a tournament or actually played a lot of games with Wave 2. So we're finding little things like this are going to come up, and I think the JFO thing, I think, is quite interesting, seeing that now becoming already the new meta. So it's cool to just keep an ear out for any other changes. It's great.
What are your favorites, Dave?
I'm not supposed to be put on the spot. Like I'm a big fan of Ninja Turtles, and if someone turned around and asked, "What's your favorite Ninja Turtle?" I would never be able to pick them. I can pick one of the 4. So, in terms of a model side of things, so I'm a big lore guy. So I do like. It's hard to pick because all of them are just armor sets. So I do, I'm a big fan of the Master Chief. The fact we do have something like that. I think I love the fact of the brutes are the right scales by canon. So I really like that. I'm trying to think which one is really. Actually, weirdly, the JFO, the with the hammer. The JFO with the hammer. JFO has the hammer, right? I'm pretty sure.
CQV,
just looking at my
the
box.
hammer, maybe?
Oh, CQV, sorry. Sorry. It's early. But yeah, that would be a favorite, because I only just got the models, literally yesterday. I think from a model point of view, I think that's my favorite. I'm looking forward to painting them. I'm trying to balance between saving them and painting them after my operation, or painting them now, and a lot of the time I end up painting them now, so I'm trying to hold back. But I would say, yeah, that would be my favorite at the moment. But I suspect it would be subject to change if they ever release actually the Spartan 2s, like an actual fire team with Spartan 2s, like you get Kelly, Fred, and all that. I think that probably would be my favorite, because Fred's my favorite Spartan. Don't ask me why. Just I read Halo Reach. Halo at the Fall of Reach when the first books came out, because I was very similar on your path there. I played with my brother for a while, but I was really into Halo, and Halo Fall of Reach was one of the first books I ended up actually reading and actually enjoying at a young age. And I love Fred. I love the idea of the Spartan 2s, which is why all my Spartans are named after the Spartan 2s. And the bottom of them, I actually got the name of everyone. Like, even got Samuel, who dies, Samuel 034. So, yeah, I'm really big for canon. So, at the moment, I would say Master Chief only because he's the only specific one I can point out. But actually going on to that, because we're talking about the future of the game, Ash also asked, what are you personally, Shae, looking forward to? And what's your wish list? So the pie in the sky doesn't have to be practical. What do you want to bring to the game? Either to help what you're doing on your YouTube channel, or just as, personally, this is what you want to see.
Yeah. So I have a list. So I'm going to try to remember it all and not overtalk it. But it's... Man, so many things. I would say one of my biggest controversial opinions, and this just has to deal with my terrain building in general, is as much, and we'll probably never see this, and so I don't expect it, but the 8x8 board sometimes doesn't lend itself to be very friendly with symmetry and terrain building. I would love, and there's nothing stopping us from doing this because you can casually play this at home, but it's a feel bad because it wouldn't be tournament legal, that a 8x9 board would be something that I would love to see as far as a terrain building perspective. There's so many times that I have ideas for terrain and maps just in general that I would love just like one center cube, like just right there in the middle, and then have 4 cubes on each side of it. I don't think, like I said, we'll ever see that, but I think if playing with my buddies, that would be something that I definitely want to explore on the channel and play around with. Competitively, I think Mantic knows way better than I do about how their game system works and whether that would work or not, but that would be kind of interesting. As far as like models go, just all of it. I would love. I just think of so many different scenarios. I would obviously I want flood. So that was, I think, one of the first things I ever said in the Halo Flashpoint Discord is flood coming to the game? Just like getting introduced to it to the first time, and that would be incredible. I love to play the bad guys, and to have just a ton of little flood running around would just make me the happiest person ever. Aside from flood, I would love to see jackals and drones. I would love to run like an all jackals and drones model. I think, in my opinion, I think what they're going to do is they're going to either do one of two avenues: either continue fleshing out the banished, bring out like grunts, jackals, all the little guys, or they're going to create all the Spartan equivalents, the elites, the Spartans, the brutes, the Promethean knights, the flood infected elites. Like they're kind of Spartan equivalent forms. From a terrain perspective, I would love for them to take their Mantic or their terrain crate terrain and expand a little bit more on their plastic terrain. I think that they totally could. It doesn't have to be perfect, but they could totally make Covenant-ish style terrain. Even though that their terrain crate is a little bit more flat, I think they could add some slight curves to their terrain to introduce more of a Covenant appearance on their terrain. I would expect if they do any of this stuff, they are going to release them based on releases. We kind of see this because we don't have a plasma pistol in the game yet, which I think is just insane. But I expect them to release that when they release the little guys. So if eventually they made a 5th faction and it was the Covenant instead of like the Banished, I would definitely want to see more Covenant-ish terrain, more alien terrain. And we just, as players, have to accept that since it's a cube-based system, that it's going to be cubular, but like it still can have some, some Covenant style in there.
I mean, right now we're in a time period as well for the Infinite that the Covenant doesn't exist. So if they do start going, and I'm on the same boat with that, there is so many different areas of Halo canon you can go in. I mean, there's an event that I always talk about, which is the Grunt Rebellion, and that was before all the war stuff. Is when the Grunts actually rebelled against the Covenant, and they've rebelled several times as well, and we've got the several different arbiters and all that. And I think at the moment there's a bit of a question of what they can actually do with the IP. Obviously, they need everything signed off by Microsoft, but everything that they've done so far is in that current infinite timeline. So whether they're pigeonholed into that and they only can really do that stuff, and to actually go outside of it takes a lot of time and a lot of negotiating. I mean, obviously they are looking ahead, so it could be conversations that are already happening now and we won't see it for years. It is something that they might be a little bit limited for, but what they are, you're definitely right to say they're not limited by introducing the grunts, that they are infinite. And we've seen elites, but the elites are with the banished as well, but we've seen grunts, jackals. I don't think we got drones in infinite, though. We got those weird skimmers, or whatever they're called. Yeah, so we might see some of them. Forerunners, not sure, because it has the same problem, because the Forerunners aren't in infinite as well. But I'm completely on your boat, on your side when it comes to all that. I guess I'll throw it to James as well. James, what do you want to say? Because you're not really a Halo fan, so you take it from more of a gameplay point of view.
Yeah, I think I don't mind. I think ultimately they're going to need more factions, right? I think longer term they're going to need more factions. So whether that's Flood, whether that's Prometheans, flashing out the Banish makes sense. Totally cool with that. They're always going to want to expand the UNSC because they're sort of they're going to be the poster children of the thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind too much whether it's going to be ultimately be Prometheans or Flood. But they're going to want to flash out the Banished, and I do think they're going to want to get another faction or two in. I mean, I'd love to get to a position where there are kind of decently playable fire teams for all four of those factions to give us more variation. I think that's ultimately all to the good if we can get into some place like that.
So yeah, I completely agree. And I guess one last thing, just to sign off the last of Ash's questions there, and then we'll go into the train. I think James has a few questions for you there. Of the current state, I know this is going to be hard to talk about because no one likes to be more negative. But I guess what would you change about the game? And being critical doesn't necessarily mean you don't like the game. It's just more of a case of this aspect's just not hitting for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely have to have a think on that. The game, I feel like I have to start talking about all the good stuff of the game. I think the game does so many things incredibly well, to start with. Front thing, the lore, the canon, everything about that is just tremendous and amazing. The gameplay is easy to pick up, but once you start playing, you soon realize that there is a ton of depth, and you're going to be pulling out your rulebook. You're going to be asking for third opinions on a lot of different things. So it's certainly complex in a good way. If I had to change anything,
and we're not saying you don't like the game. This is more just a kind of like nothing's perfect kind of deal. I mean,
yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think it would be down to just that, is just having more factions and more options, which isn't really changing the game because we are going to get that. But the variety piece is extremely important and needs expanding and needs exploring. I think that would keep a lot of people from doing it. I would love to see releases a little bit sooner. 4 months, I think, is just fine. But getting some stuff a little bit faster, I think. But yeah, that's just really nitpicking, and the fact that I can't even think of like a legitimate thing that I don't like about the game.
No,
is really tough.
Legitimate. What you mentioned are the legitimate ones. I mean, that was something when it was first announced, it was only just Spartans, and that was a big one. That was a deterrent for a lot of people. So I think it's completely valid. And I don't know if I can agree with your release schedule because I've only got so much money. But and currently trading goods between countries is going to get a lot more difficult over the next probably year or two, and a lot more expensive. So it might pay for the release schedule to not get tighter. Otherwise, I think we'll all be broke, and I don't think that's entirely a great thing. So James, I do know I'll throw it to you, mate, because I think you got some questions about the whole terrain side of things for him.
Did I have some questions? I did have some questions. It was more about just as you're building. So I do some terrain building myself. It was quite interesting today while I was at this tournament playing Halo. There was a MCP tournament at my FLGS where several of the boards I built were in play. I mean, I guess one of the things I find really interesting is kind of trying to balance the aesthetics and the playability. I've yet to do any terrain building for Halo, but I need to build a board for an upcoming demo event. So I guess, have you got any tips in terms of balancing kind of the aesthetics of the board with the playability of the board?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I first started creating these boards, I think my first map was the Hang 'em High map, and I had basically like no line of sight blockers. Hang 'em High does not really, other than the tombstones, it doesn't really have on the walkways anything to block line of sight. And someone was telling me like, oh, you should add some stuff on those walkways, and I'm just like being so like stubborn, like, nah, we don't need to add anything on there. And then after playing, it's how important blocking line of sight or giving your opponent and yourself an opportunity to be tactical with line of sight. So line of sight is definitely something that I consider a lot. It's at the kind of early stages of this channel. I'm more so focused on the aesthetics and kind of getting new people into the hobby and getting people excited to play, to where like most of what I'm creating is fairly on the simple side, other than like my Scarab map that I'm going to finish eventually, because it's similar to what players get in the box. I don't want new players to think that they have to like create this super elaborate thing with 4 levels and all these different walkways, and which they can do that with extra terrain, but just getting something out of the box, having maybe only 1 or 2 floors, is kind of something I'm exploring in the beginning. But as I move forward into a little bit more complex, terrain builds, I think expanding the size of my maps is something I want to do, and that's easily achievable just by creating more floors, more walkways, because by creating just 1 extra 8x8 walkway or like 6x6 walkway, you're adding 6 more cubes to the play space that you have to walk on, so it creates a larger game in that aspect. I don't look too much into how it'll affect gameplay. I kind of like to build something and like test it out and then adjust later. But I'd be curious to know like some of the stuff that you're creating.
Oh, well, I need to start that. Currently, I have a whole bunch of 3-inch thick foam. Not a lot else, but I'm kind of interested to do something. I'm looking to do something with kind of a Pinnacle or a Guardian vibe. Sort of kind of a raised central area. And kind of that's sort of where I'm going to. I want something that looks a bit kind of looks a bit kind of Halo Forge, but with one of those kind of central maps with a raised center and a kind of an outlying area. But that's about as far as I've got. So I've got to get that done in probably. I have about a month to get that built. So I need to get myself in gear for that one.
To play it like in another tournament, or
we got a demo day coming up.
Demo day.
There's a sort of skirmish game demo day at our friendly local gaming store. So I've sort of said I'll demo Halo for that, and I kind of want something a bit visually eye-catching for people who'd be interested in Halo. So that's kind of my target. We'll see how I do. Speaking of tournaments, I mean, you mentioned earlier you found that the terrain pretty dense on the boards, and it is denser, I know, than a lot of people play on. With those standard layouts. How did you find those layouts? And are you interested in kind of incorporating any of that into the kind of the builds you do going forward?
Yeah, I actually quite loved how dense it was. It was a little off-putting, and it felt like a little bit of chaos at first, but like once you actually started playing on it, you realize that there's still plenty of opportunity for like clear shots with how dense that the layouts were. And it was very balanced in that way. I think ultimately visually it's just not as visually appealing. So I probably wouldn't put as much dense terrain in there. Scattered terrain is very important just to bring to life some of these builds, and that is absolutely something I'll put in there. Plus scattered terrain, you can kind of move around on the board, and it's a little bit less static. It makes my static boards have a little bit more variance in it. I think there's definitely something to be said about things like cracks in terrain and being able to see through it, and gain line of sight that way as well. I quite liked the dense terrain, but once again, that you don't, if you want to play this game right out of the box, I've been having the most fun just playing on the tournament terrain, the cardboard terrain that comes in the box, and there shouldn't be an idea that you can't have more fun just playing that terrain.
Cracking, yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I know nothing about terrain. I'm terrible at making terrain. I mean, the most customization I've had is I got the cardboard terrain and I put it up, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm more of a I like painting it because, as I said, I'm kind of trying to build all the Spartan 2s essentially as Spartan 4s. But that's the extent of it. But there is some, like your creations that you've shown there, Shae. They definitely put me to shame, but I can definitely see people getting inspired actually making, and the fact that you've tried to make a conscious effort of taking the actual game maps and actually converting them over. I think you've done a really good job. Yeah, there are obviously going to be limitations and concessions you have to make. I think High Ground is probably like a good example of how to get the map in that limitation field but still get the same vibe, because you definitely look at that and it feels like a High Ground. And I actually played an infinite version of it the other day, and then I saw that video, and yeah, you did a really great job. So it'd be interesting to see what you do going forward and just the expansion on what you're doing. And I think you're doing a really great job, especially not just for yourself and exploring those creativity areas, but just for the community as a whole, is seeing someone building these and definitely showing people how it's done. I think it's very inspirational, which is exactly what you want to achieve. So good job on that one.
Yeah, and even the High Ground map, it wasn't like I painted it and I put it together, but it was actually community made 3D printed file that someone asked me if I wanted to do a video on. So I try to find all different ways that you can create the terrain for the game. So using Mantic terrain, using 3D printed terrain, using stuff that you could buy at Walmart, you know what I mean? So all these different options for people to create is I think important to me, and just getting that variance in there as well to show people that you could literally go on Amazon and buy 3x3 furniture, protectors that slide underneath the feet of your furniture, and then put them on the top of a 3x3 foam cube, and then you have terrain for this game. So the limit is really just your imagination.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess we're going to start to wrap up things here, but I guess what are you working on at the moment? Any particular video? I mean, you obviously, something you might not want to keep spoil things, but this is an audio podcast, so no one's actually going to be spoiled by seeing anything. So, anything you want to say going forward or anything? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, so many ideas. The amount of time I have compared to the ideas I have really is what keeps me from content creating as much as I want to. But definitely continue creating maps. I want to also create game types, like favorite game types, and like kind of showcase them as like a community made game types on variations of the current game types that are out. The map that I'm considering working on next is technically like this 2.0 version of High Ground, where I add actual like elevation and like foam and everything. One of the maps that I will say that I want to create, I kind of alluded on earlier in the podcast, is I really want to create turf. There's this company called Uncertain Scenery that you can basically buy 4x4 sections of already like MDF terrain, and put them together to make whatever you want. And I was able to purchase some items that would basically make turf just by purchasing four 4x4 MDF terrain pieces and just how easy it can be to just like buy something, put it together, and then just have it on the tabletop. So turf is, I want to also make something with the brutes, but turf might be the easiest one to make. And I would say for anyone that's tuning into my channel, I'm trying to make maps based on the releases. So you can bet if there's brutes coming out, I'm going to be creating a brute map. If there's another faction coming out, it's going to be themed off of that. Just easier for me to come up with ideas and come up with ways to help get people into the game.
Now, just for people that maybe like hearing turf and you think the actual soil, there's actually a map in Halo 2 called Turf, and it was one of the, I think, first downloadable ones that was actually released. And for those that still are unsure which one it is, it was the one that had the Rooster Teeth vending machines in it when it was first released, and it's in New Mombasa. It's in the city. And when you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you're big into Halo 2 at the time, because the minute you said it, I'm like, isn't that? And then I Googled it, and I'm like, yeah, exactly, it's that turf. And it's actually it'll be a very interesting map to play on, but how they actually translate on how you would make it would be very interesting. So yeah, I'll look out for that one. That'll be good. Cool. All right, so I guess we'll sign off things here. We've been talking for a good hour and a half, hour and a half, damn, things went really quickly. Any final questions for Shae there, James?
Nothing from me, just thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll speak again soon. Yeah, no, thank you guys. It's been fun, and what you guys do is I'm immensely grateful for. So, and being a part of this community has just been one of the most rewarding things that I could have done. So, yeah.
Yeah, and ditto as well. I mean, what you do as well. I mean, you've got way more people on YouTube looking at your stuff, and I expect that will only grow from here. And we're definitely supportive. And I know a lot of people have mentioned you before, and are very appreciative of what you do as well. And we're all just hopefully one big happy family, just trying to push up more Halo content. And who knows, 5 years from now, we could be doing this all over again, talking about Wave. What would it be at the time? What there's 2 waves every year. So what? Wave maybe 20, something like that. I don't know. We'll be at wave 20. I don't know. Or wave 10. We're wave 10. But yeah, it's been really great. Yeah. Cool. Sorry, go Shae. No, is it? Yeah, I did. Just very appreciative. Just agreeing. Yeah. All good. The joys of internet delay. Thanks for everyone for listening. Make sure you do all subscribe to YouTube. We've got a little Patreon if you want to chuck a buck. We've got Facebook. We've got Discord, because me and James talk quite often. It's always good to throw what we're actually discovering and finding in those chats. So if you've got any information as well, chuck it in there. The links to Shae's stuff will be down below, and go check out his stuff and leave a comment and just show him some love and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's about it. So until next time, I'll say see ya, and I'll throw it to James to say see ya too. Good night, everybody. I'm looking forward to my bed. Cool. Peace, guys. Cheers all.